待たせをいたしました。改めまして、ブロックチェーングローバルガバナンスカンファレンス、フィンサムブロックチェーン&ビジネス、ご参加をいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。では、お時間となりましたので、これよりイーサリアムコミュニティをテーマにパネルディスカッションを始めます。では、本セッションご参加のパネリストの皆様からまずご紹介をしてまいりましょう。メーカーファウンデーション日本地域リーダー、キャサリン・チュー様でございます。そして、イーサリアムファウンデーションエグゼクティブディレクター、宮口彩様。クロマティックキャピタルマネージングディレクター、グラント・ハンマー様。宮口様、ハンマー様はオンラインでのご参加となります。そして本セッションのモデレーターをお務めをいただきますのは、エンタープライズイーサリアムアライアンスリージョナルヘッド、クーガーチーフブロックチェーンアーキテクト、石黒和明様でございます。では、早速ではございますが、ここからの進行、石黒様によろしくお願いをいたします。
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for participating in this panel discussion. We will hear from 3 experts who will share their extensive knowledge of Ethereum community in detail and based on their experiences. We will be discussing the Ethereum community in general, as well as example of its activities in Japan and future developments, and how enterprise can get involved in community activities. Ultimately, I hope through this discussion, here in the audience, we'll have deeper understanding of the Ethereum community that will lead the future contribution from various perspectives. So let's start from a quick introduction from each speaker, 1 or 2 lines. So I would like Catherine to go first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kathleen Chu. I am part of the Maker Foundation. Maker Foundation's role is to bootstrap MakerDAO, which is supporting a stablecoin called DAI. I'm also the co-founder of Yasashi DeFi, a meetup group, or DeFi Japan, which is a community that whose goal is to educate people, the community in Japan, to learn about DeFi. Thank you.
So next, Aya-san, please.
Hello, my name is Aya Miyaguchi. I am Executive Director of the Ethereum Foundation, the EF, what we call EF, the Ethereum Foundation. We do have internal developers and researchers, but now with the community grew this big, our job is to coordinate everything within the Ethereum ecosystem, which we are going to talk more about. So I will explain more of what we do in the later conversation.
Thank you. And Grant?
Hello, I am Grant Hummer. I got into Ethereum heavily in 2015, and I founded the San Francisco Ethereum Developers Meetup in early 2016. It now has a little over 5,000 Ethereum developers, and I also run Chromatic Capital, an Ethereum-focused blockchain consulting and investment company.
Thank you very much. And for myself, my name is Kazuaki Ishiguro. I'm a full-time software engineer at Cougar, Tokyo-based startup. And also, I work for EEA, Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, regional head. Yep, that's about it. So before we get it started, I'd like to start from a little poll from our audience, which not that many, but so that we can understand the level of audience. So please raise your hand if you have used or developed any blockchain application in the past. Please raise your hand. I think, 15%. Yep. And have you used or developed Ethereum application in the past? None. Okay. And do you know the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum? Please raise your hand. Okay, 50%. Okay, thank you very much. So I'd like to start out from like easy question for these expertise. So Grant, can you explain what is Ethereum?
Yeah, happy to. So this is actually a very deep question, and I won't try to take too long, but I'll try to explain it as simply as possible. So Ethereum is very similar to Bitcoin. It's a blockchain, which is just a big network of computers that all share the same data and that are secured by cryptography. And people decided that's valuable, so they've put a lot of money into it and believe in it. That's what gives it its monetary value. So Ethereum is kind of similar to Bitcoin, except for one very important thing, which is that you can write applications on top of it. These applications are known as dApps, which is short for decentralized apps, and they allow you to execute almost any kind of code or computation that you would like on top of the blockchain. And unlike Bitcoin, which only allows you to send assets from one party to another, Ethereum allows for almost infinite possibilities in the types of things you could do. In theory, you could create a decentralized Uber, decentralized Facebook, decentralized banking, or a whole lot more. So one way to think of Ethereum is as a world computer. It's a single shared and trustless computing platform that allows anyone in the world to develop applications that easily interact with other applications in the network in a totally permissionless way.
Great, thank you.
So quick dirty Ethereum.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I have the next question for you, Aya-san. Generally speaking, what is the Ethereum community, since this is a Ethereum community track? So what is the Ethereum community and what does it consist of it?
Sure. First of all, good job, Grant, to keep it within like 2 minutes. That's like a hard task. The reason why he said this is a really big question and it's hard to answer is that basically it is Ethereum is an infrastructure that is like a first programmable big blockchain. Basically, you can execute anything, your intentions and everything. You can program anything. So because of that, the ecosystem itself is also consists of so many different players. One is that the platform itself, Ethereum platform, there are developers and researchers who are working to build the Ethereum platform. It's still being improved. So there are members, developers, and researchers, even like outside of the Ethereum Foundation, who are working to make the platform itself better. And there are many applications on top of Ethereum that are providing solutions to like real world problems. And those applications are also built by the community members. And there are also, so basically, like could be big enterprises who are providing solutions for as their product. And there is, you mentioned Isiguro-san, Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, EA, which I'm also a board member of. That's like one of the associations, part of the Ethereum community. And there are players in between, like who are providing in between solutions. We sometimes call it layer 2, or basically making Ethereum easier for application builders for them to more easily build. So there are players who are making developer experiment easier. So basically, this is like it's important to mention or repeat, emphasize, it is a open source project, Ethereum itself. Anyone can participate as a developer, as a researcher. As a business, you can also be part of it and then also create a business model and make business out of it. And what the Ethereum Foundation does is, I said we coordinate everything within the ecosystem, which is a lot of work. But what we are trying to do is now the community has grown and developed pretty well. It's naturally grown. The open source attracted a lot of contributors, individual teams, businesses. So with that, the EF tries to do what only the Ethereum Foundation can do. So meaning identifying missing pieces and figure out what does not organically happen, and we support. We give support to the missing pieces, whether financially or non-financially. And so we provide grants and other support, coordinating with universities. There are educational institutions who are teaching Ethereum. There are hackathon organizers. So all of them, like if you want to be part of the community, you can be part of the community now.
Great, thank you. So the next question I want to ask you, Catherine, is why is community building so important?
Yes. So to simply put, when you compare the number of developers versus within the Ethereum blockchain versus that of other blockchains, Ethereum, the number clearly stands out. And that is simply why it matters. More engineers building using Ethereum, more types of products can be introduced, and more variety of products, the bigger the ecosystem grows. The bigger the ecosystem, the more prosper it can be. And that is what we have seen in the case of DeFi. So DeFi means decentralized finance or open finance. DeFi has the potential to become the new generation of finance because it automates a lot of processes what we have today in terms of financial services. And DeFi protocols utilizes Ethereum smart contracts to create innovative services. So each protocol utilizes some functions from some other protocols, and they simply build, as I mentioned earlier, it's an open source, so people can see the code and just kind of, the protocols kind of build on top of each other. You can think of it as a house, the foundation of a house. To start, you do not have to build from the foundation, from the layer, the basic layer. You can simply just utilize the parts that you need and kind of just this building block, and you just get the best from others and then build something on your own. So that's kind of really the power of the community, of a community. So, and in the context of DeFi, since it's very new, another reason why having a community is extremely important. So in the context of DeFi, since it's very new, few people know about the information, and having a community who can share, who can provide a platform to share and exchange information is extremely important for the success of DeFi. And especially the community, the builders, the users, utilizing the DeFi protocols. And that is why some of us have started, a group of us started, some before me, DeFi Japan, and then Yasashi DeFi. Our purpose is to invite people to learn about DeFi, and understanding what it can do, why it matters, and the risks as well of the associated with it as the first step. And therefore, then having a community and benefit from it. So having a community where you can learn together is extremely important. Thanks.
Thank you. So I have a specific question for you, Aya-san. You mentioned about the Ethereum Foundation community support program earlier, and do you have any standards or policies for community support program as a Ethereum Foundation? And what are some examples of the support you have done so far?
So every year we've been providing up to like more than 20 million amount of financial support if we only talk about financially last couple of years. But specifically, we do have ecosystem support program that if you go to our website, there is also like ESP is ecosystem support program, and ESP.ethereum.foundation, there's a website for their program. If you go to the website, there is a wish list that you can check, meaning the list of things but these are mainly focusing on the platform of Ethereum itself, because that has been the priority of the Ethereum Foundation. The reason why is that those are the things that cannot make business model out of it, meaning if we don't support, no one else will support. So the list can include capabilities, privacy, security, usability, developer experience, education, and community scaling, East 1, next, East 2. But then there's also the last one says supplies us. So it is not just limited to this list. And then also there are other challenges that it's posted on this website, meaning like here are things that you can involve and also get bounties out of it. Or in directory, we do fund other funding mechanisms such as Gitcoin, or Moloch DAO is like they're providing grants with a DAO. I'm not going to talk about how DAO works here, but also things like UNICEF Crypto Fund. So one of the things we are trying to do is to reach out to the regions or areas that are still not tapped enough. So we are trying to do that more proactively recently. And then one of the things that we have done is to support UNICEF's Crypto Fund, which is run by UNICEF Innovation Team. They are providing financial support to startups in emerging markets that are building solutions with blockchain. And it's actually crypto denominated funds. So they receive crypto as crypto and use crypto as crypto. Is a concept which is actually super advanced if you think about how the world works now. And so that's one of the way we try to support in directory. But we are welcome any suggestions. It's not limited to the platform infrastructure itself now, because many other parts are being evolved. And of course, there are still very, very important topics like privacy, security that needs to be improved. Yeah, so anything that is critical for the Ethereum platform itself or the community to grow.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that. That's the best way to put it. You mentioned about your local community effort in San Francisco, Grant. I have a question for you, and can you give us some example of how you are building a community in San Francisco, and what motivates you to build a community?
Sure. So before the coronavirus, we held regular in-person meetups in San Francisco that highlighted the different projects that we're building on top of Ethereum. And we would also have meetups and events about the technical details of Ethereum, like how to write smart contracts or how its infrastructure works, things like that, targeted to developers. We also sometimes had events with other blockchains as well. So since the coronavirus, we haven't been holding any events, unfortunately, but we've been promoting lots of hackathons and things like that and conferences. And we will continue to, because we think it's very important that people stay engaged, even though they can't go out in person anymore. And as for my motivations, the San Francisco Bay Area is one of the most thriving ecosystems for technology in the world. And I'm very motivated to spread the word about Ethereum and teach them about it and all the things that are possible with it, and hopefully convince them to build on it too. Because I think Ethereum will change the world for the better by decentralizing monopolies and allowing people to build provably fair, transparent systems and protocols on top of it. So that's my motivation.
Great, thank you. So Catherine, can you're mainly leading a Japanese region of a MakerDAO, one of the largest global Ethereum application layers. And but what is the difference between global and Japanese community activities? And do you have any example of community activities unique to Japan?
I guess the kind of not so interesting answer to that would be the biggest difference, and perhaps the challenge, the biggest challenge is language. Innovation takes place quickly, and especially in the DeFi space. And the main language people use is English. So that means it takes an extra effort for the Japanese community to catch up and with the latest. And because of that, I see that it prompts many of the Japanese community members to study harder or use tools that they can find to the translation tools to learn about DeFi. And other than that, I think the level of enthusiasm is pretty much the same, if not more. And of course, so there are challenges. I see that especially in the case of Maker Forum. Maker Forum is the place where people discuss about governance, decisions on risks, and future in onboarding more collaterals. These are key decisions to make, and these and debates are happening on a regular basis on the Maker Forum. But I see that for English speaker, it's easy to just kind of commenting on the discussion. But for Japanese speakers, it's just harder to make any contribution. And I think some people feel reluctant. And in terms of regulation, like in terms of some of the major difference, maybe Grant can help me with this. I see that a lot of builders in Japan, in our community, what they care most when they have a great idea is to first check whether it's legally okay. And oftentimes the regulation's not in place, so they have to talk to a lawyer, and which tends to be quite costly. And I heard that in the US, when someone wants to build something, they'll just go ahead and build it and worry everything else later without holding back. And I see that's the biggest difference between the community here and overseas.
Thank you very much.
That's a very interesting point. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think in the US that's a little bit the case, but people are also very mindful of the law too, and a lot of people say that drives innovation overseas from the US too. Some of the regulations are also a little unclear. So fortunately, Ethereum is a global platform, so people can contribute from anywhere on Earth.
I will encourage still though, having been in this industry for a longer time, and it's still short, but it's pretty long. it is always, we should not put everything into the existing legal structures or regulations because it doesn't exist. And then I'm saying this to encourage everyone, including lawyers and regulators, that we need to have open discussions. Starting with the discussion, just looking at the existing regulation does not, grow the innovation part, even though it is important to consider. And there are always these discussions. And then for Japanese people, we have this expression called 石橋を叩いて渡る. So it's like culturally, it is very natural for them to be 200% sure. But that sometimes defeat the purpose of bringing an innovative idea. So I do encourage everyone to have kind of outside the box discussions, even for regulatory and legal conversations, because the researchers and developers who are building this technology, their intention is never to do anything bad. And there are things that they need to consider, such as, protecting users, their privacy. But where is the line? What is the best balance? We should never forget about that. Otherwise, we will just become, you can never create innovative products, or even just the whole idea is supposed to be outside of the box.
If I may add to that just quickly, there's a platform, an organization called Begin where this conversation can take place. It's BGIN. Please do check. Do check it out when you can. It's a place where I guess this is messages for the users, not to Aya-san, but please do have a look, because that's where you can really kind of understand that discussions is actually taking place, and it's a really great place where people can contribute, and this is sort of like a global sandbox for both the regulators and the stakeholders, the builders.
Thank you. Speaking of different communities, and then I have a question for you all. And how do you think the Ethereum community differs from other blockchain or some other internet or software communities in general? It's an open question for you.
I can answer first, probably. This is something that I get asked often. I don't want to compare with other communities. That's actually probably shows our culture. The reason why is we are building things to our enemy is the problem that exists in the world, not competitors. And so we don't really, competing with others is not really our best. I mean, when I say I don't really try to define everyone's vision, because it's also Ethereum, is an open community. You can have your own version of your vision for Ethereum. But for the Ethereum Foundation, we do believe that. That's why openness is very, very important things to have. And we do. I believe the client community has that, to have open discussions and always kind of share your ideas openly, and then try to potentially work with others to find the best solution or improve what we are working on. So that openness is definitely the biggest, I shouldn't say difference, but biggest core value that we have. Client, you can add if you have anything.
Sure. Happy to, yeah. I think one thing I love about the Ethereum community, and especially the core developer community, with which Vitalik is a very important figure in among many other core developers. I think the thing I most appreciate is that it's very honest. So there's a lot of honesty about trade-offs that are being made when things are being built. There's honesty about limitations and shortcomings, and honesty about the current progress of the technology. And I think this industry has attracted a lot of capital in a very short period of time, and that's led some projects to make a very grand promises about things that can be delivered very quickly, and then it turns out that they don't talk about maybe the trade-offs that they're making, like being centralized, for instance. So yeah, I think that's the thing that I really appreciate about the Ethereum community.
Okay, thank you. And then I'd like to move on to the next question regarding future plan, because what I want to ask, what do you expect to see a result of your community in the future? Any thoughts on this?
Well, I guess I'll go. I think sharing the results of the community building, I hope by sharing more information about Ethereum and DeFi, more people can benefit. More people can learn about it and then benefit from it. We have already seen several community members starting their own business plans. I hope that we'll see more because we haven't actually seen any, say for example, DeFi projects coming out originated from Japan. I think it would be really awesome to have one that becomes popular and that the people in the world can use.
And then I'd like to ask, what is the current state of Ethereum that may affect the impact of community members? I think that's a specific question for Ayasan or Grant.
So the current development or current state is like there are a lot of like scaling solutions happening, but also things for privacy, zero knowledge proof is probably making the development for businesses or enterprises to build things on Ethereum more easily. Scaling solution related to ETH2, I think Grant will be the best person to give us some lecture of ETH2 for dummies really quick.
Sure. How much time do we have?
We still have 7 minutes, 7.5.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess should I talk about ETH2?
Mm-hmm. Please.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I think ETH2 and how community members can participate and things like that. Like I think general
Sure.
thing for ETH2, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll start by talking about ETH2. So ETH2 is the next generation of Ethereum, and it's actually a completely new blockchain with a very new architecture for scaling blockchains. So basically, ETH2 has three main goals, which is to improve the scalability, security, and programmability of Ethereum. So Ethereum today can only process 15 transactions per second, which is pretty slow. The credit card company Visa can process thousands to tens of thousands of transactions per second. So to get to that scale, right, that Ethereum needs to upgrade, because that's what you really need to affect the world in a big way. So Ethereum 2's goal, ETH2's goal, is to enable Ethereum to process thousands to tens of thousands of transactions per second without compromising on decentralization. So it's very, very easy to process a lot of transactions by being very centralized. You can just build a data center and replicate Google or Amazon or something like that. Doing it in a decentralized way is quite hard. And so ETH2 tries to accomplish this by breaking up Ethereum into what are known as shards. So most blockchains, I'm just going to share my screen here real quickly. Okay. Screen. So most blockchains look like this. It's just there's a single set of data that everyone has to follow, and everyone has access to the same data. It's a very simple model for building a blockchain network, and that's how Bitcoin works. That's how many Bitcoin competitors work. That's actually how Ethereum works today too. It looks just like this. It's one block after the other, and everyone has all this data stored on their computers. So this is what ETH2 is going to look like. Each node on the network will be on what's called a shard, and there will be a lot of these shard chains. So you can think of this being multiplied 64 times or 16 times with a central chain called a beacon chain to coordinate all the shards together. There's a lot more detail than that. This is a very quick, high-level explanation, but that's kind of how ETH2 scales data. So I'll just stop sharing my screen here. So yeah, that's basically what ETH2 is trying to accomplish, and a very rough explanation of how it works. And it's being constructed by about a little under a dozen different engineering teams. So even the development of ETH2 is decentralized, and there will be a lot of different clients that people can use to connect to and run the network. So the goal of it is to decentralize it in many different ways while maintaining its scalability. And as far as people can get involved, if right now it's a very, very technical. So if you're a software developer maybe, or like a network engineer, those can always help out. Otherwise, just spreading the word about ETH2 and keeping abreast of its progress is a great way also to support the community. And the first phase of ETH2, so ETH2 is being rolled out in 3 different phases. And the first phase is called phase 0. And that's coming out in a couple months. And that will allow people to do what's called staking, where you will be able to take your Ethereum and lock it up and then earn more Ethereum by validating transactions in the network. So instead of having to run a miner, which is this piece of hardware that's used to secure Bitcoin and to secure Ethereum today using its proof of work, people will be able to secure Ethereum using the value of Ether itself. And that's a whole other rabbit hole that we don't have a lot of time to get into. But I wrote an article about this that was translated into Japanese called ETH2 for Dummies. And you can find it by Googling ETH2 for Dummies Japanese. And maybe the organizers can also send out a link as well. So yeah, I'm trying not to go over time. So I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That is a Medium post. And then translated by Nishimura Yoshikazu-san from the Japanese community.
Yep. I've read the ETH2 for Dummies both in Japanese and English, and they're very organized. So it's really help you to understand what the Ether 2.0 is. So I really recommend you all to read that article. So thank you very much for sharing. So it's running a time a little bit. So before we go, so we all get the notion of ETH 2.0. And then I would like to ask one last question for you all. And then what are a group of, we are a group of people with a different perspective on the same goals. And then what is the plan for community action for ETH 2.0? I'd like to start out from Kathleen.
I think we'll just do what we've been doing. Maybe host another Yasashi DeFi. Because we do that monthly. We also have a more advanced called Yasashi Kunai DeFi. So we'll probably be talking about that.
Great, thank you. Aya-san, please.
From our side, EF is going to keep supporting the research and development of ETH2, meaning providing support to also the community members who are part of ETH2 process. And that's what we do. But other than that, we do keep providing more educational opportunities, like what Grant mentioned, for people to really understand what does this mean.
Thank you. Grant?
Sure, and thank you for the kind words about the article. So for ETH2, when it's possible to, again, I'd like to start hosting meetups to teach people about how to build on it and how it works under the hood. Until then, I plan to write more about it, diving into the technical details more, and also trying to support developers who want to migrate their applications onto it. So, yeah.
Thank you. A lot of very interesting stories have been on agenda, and I feel like I like to go on forever, but it's getting close to the end of the meeting. I hope today's discussion will inspire you to take action on Ethereum in the future. So thank you very much again for your time today. And at last, please give a round of applause to our three main experts who have participated in this conversation. Thank you very much.
We thank all the speakers to participate in this session. 石黒様、モデレーターを務めをいただきありがとうございました。では、これをもちまして、イーサリアムコミュニティパネルディスカッション終了とさせていただきます。では、ここで次のセッションのご案内でございます。13時20分より、ホール A ではパネルディスカッション、日本におけるカストディエコシステム、デジタルアセットの鍵管理環境をいかに整えるかというテーマで、こちらのホール B では同じくパネルディスカッション、ビットコインコミュニティのテーマでお届けをいたします。オンライン視聴の皆様方、どうぞご視聴いただくセッション会場の URL ご選択の上、ご参加をお願いいたします。では、次のセッションの開始のお時間まで今しばらくお待ちください。